But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0,
1, self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Monday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things? Way too much, so I'm going to have to sum up. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. We got a doozy for you tonight. You guys like ghost stories in July? Because why not? Hey, why the hell not? Hey, we make our own rules, and when something pops up in the news cycle that seems interesting and worth talking about that we haven't really talked about before, I think that's the beautiful thing about these sorts of topics, right? There's so many things. I mean, there are recurring themes in these ideas. However, there's so many exact, like, sort of slices of paranormal that you can just talk about forever and ever and on, because like what the hell's really going on out there? We talk about thinning the veil and being in between the veil and then the other side of the veil and people that can see through the veil, and I don't even know what the hell a veil is because, well, I am, of course, the questions guy, not the answers guy. And that's why we get together and do this as a team here, because it's impossible for any one person to know everything. And if you do, let me know, because I want a video of you glowing and floating. Because if you're doing both, I'll believe you know everything. But if you're not doing both, well, you and I got a bone to pick. Okay, now here's the thing, right? So as you know, my job is to bring something to talk about. Your job is to kick back and listen. And if you got a take on this, you got some input, you got some things to add, you call me and we talk about this stuff. It's a simple conversation. Like I said, I am the questions guy, not the answers guy, meaning that this is just sort of a premise of sometimes mythology, sometimes modern mythology, sometimes news cycles and all that other stuff we talked about, just kind of mixed together and thrown into a big batch of, I don't know, paranormal, alien conspiracy fruit salad. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do tonight, because why the hell not? And ghost stories in July, I'll take it. Tomorrow in Vegas, by the way, as far down as Laughlin, we got 118 degrees. 118. It may hit 120 in Laughlin, which is about 2 hours south of Vegas. And, well, hour 45, depending on where you're leaving from. But anyway, so I digress a little bit. So it's, ghost stories with the sun out is fine by me. But I digress. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and you can find us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And we got a Discord running too. You can find the phone number and the Discord at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. It's got everything there. It's got the podcast. It's got all the social media links. It's got the shop. It's got all the stuff you need if you want to, go a little deeper and to go find some other stuff on Troubled Minds. It's all there. Troubledminds.org. Phone number is there. Discord link is there. Come do the thing. Yeah, Ronald says it's a dry heat. Exactly. Hey, it makes a difference. I think I was talking about this with Bailey, or I'm pretty sure, like a long time ago, maybe like weeks ago. But it was like, hey, a dry heat really makes a difference, because if I go back to DC and hang out there and it's like 85 degrees with like 80% humidity, I'm dying. But if it's literally like 115 out and it's dry, it's cool. It's not cool, but I'm fine, right? I'm fine. I'm not dying. It's a difference. It's really a difference. Anyway, all right. So that's what we're doing tonight. We are, again, like I said, we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. What that means is digital radio. Hey, digital radio. If you want to help the station, please do. Just go, it's super simple. Join the Discord there. It's a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free. I'm watching all the chat in all the places. Fringe.fm/chat will give you a direct invite. Also, the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds is to download the Fringe app. You can find that at your Android or Apple app stores. It's completely free. Just need an internet connection and a device that runs it, smartphone typically. You download it Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Smash the play button. You get Troubled Minds. You get us. And you get all the rest of the amazing programming that happens on the Fringe FM. So please do that. All right, let's do this. Let's get to this. Now, look, let's get to the spooky stuff. The spooky stuff in July, because nobody tells us what we can think or what we can say. Now, I found this article. This is what spawned all this. This is from livescience.com. And mysterious Lord of the Universe deity from ancient Palmyra finally identified. All right. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like this. This is from 10 hours ago. This is from today. Hot off the press, right? Check this out. The god's name was never directly written out. And I was like, okay, I like this. I really dig this. Let me read just a little bit. We got a phone call. We got Nick in California. I see you there, Nick. Hang tight. So check this out. The identity of an unknown god described in inscriptions from the ancient city of Palmyra, located in modern-day Syria, has long baffled scientists. But now a researcher declares that she has cracked the case. Palmyra existed for millennia, and the city flourished around 2,000 years ago as a center of trade that connected the Roman Empire with trade routes in Asia, such as the Silk Road. The anonymous deity is mentioned in numerous Aramaic inscriptions at Palmyra and is referenced to as "He whose name is blessed forever." Also, Lord of the Universe and Merciful, according to Science in Poland, a news site run by the Polish government and independent journalists. Many of these inscriptions date back around 2,000 years. Now, we can get into the rest of this mystery here, but it got me thinking in terms of course, right? Like, all I need is a seed idea, and we can just run. We can just run with this. And so let's run with this tonight. It got me thinking in these terms, okay? So we're talking about an ancient deity from Babylon-ish, right? That time frame-ish. Now, the thing is this. Why would you not inscribe the name of the deity itself, himself, herself, whatever, right? And it got me thinking in terms of, I've heard in some cases when they're doing, let's say, exorcisms, is that they'll command the name of the demon, so they get the name and it gives them power over said demon. This type of thing, right? This type of exchange going on. And so it got me thinking in those terms. Okay, so why would you have this god or goddess or creator or whatever this is, right? Again, ancient, like we're talking 2,000 years ago plus Mesopotamia. Okay. But why would you have like this sort of nameless entity that is referenced in so many different ways that I don't know what's going on with this? And it got me thinking about a lot of things, about Sauron, about the Lord of the Rings, about some other fiction that I've read in the past. I can't remember the names because it's one of those tropes that seems to resurface over and over again. The idea that some things are so evil or dark that you cannot mention their name, kind of like demons, right? They say that you shouldn't like frivolously just toss out the name of demons. Why is that? Is it because through some way, somehow you can summon them, you can bring them to you, you can catch their attention somehow? I don't know. There seems to be a lot to this regarding not just, again, the name of this eponymous deity, but then also what about exorcisms? What about like sort of calling out the name of an entity? And we've heard this too with like modern religions. And again, please forgive me, guys, for my blasphemy. I am not a Christian or a Catholic. I'm not. Please forgive that. But people have said, if you call out the name of Jesus in particular, it brings a power to you, right? The power of Christ, this type of thing. Okay, so look, why does this work? Why exactly does this work? Matt in California in the chat says, catch their attention. Does it catch their attention? So that's what we're talking about tonight, sort of the idea of naming the entity. Does it give you a power over them? Does it give you a blessing from them? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to think about. Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, my friend. Let's go to Nick in California. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. How are you tonight, my man?
Hey, Mike. Can you hear me pretty well?
Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Okay. First off, hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing fine. A fantastic Monday evening. It's really great that you pulled up that article. So as you were explaining what tonight's topic is, excuse me, and you brought up ancient Mesopotamia and the Silk Trade route and about this unnamed god or this recently discovered god within ancient writings. And it got me thinking because this is really a topic where it's a religious magic can of worms, so to speak, because we're talking about evocation. Now, evocation comes from the Latin word evocatio, which means to conjure away, actually, or to keep away in certain respects. The ancient Romans actually had coined that term when they were worried about either a mixture of plundering and spirituality at the same time. But the essence of evocation or conjuring or divination or necromancy predates all of that by thousands of years, and it starts kind of where you started with us tonight in ancient Sumer. In my opinion, I think somebody also kind of mentioned in the chat that to speak it is to give it power, and depending on the cultural perspective, I believe that's true, because if you look at the history of demonology, mysticism, in every text across the world, it's always a two-part story, right? To speak of something is either to give it immense power to either do a lot of good or a lot of bad. And there's actually a reason why throughout the history of certain civilizations, spirituality has either been on an upswing or downswing, depending on how popularized it was among these certain society, so to speak, whether it was accepted as a part of life or it was shunned. I mean, if you go back to antiquity and you look at ancient cultures, Babylon, Egypt, Sumer, and a little bit maybe pre-classical period, when polytheism was kind of the norm, spirituality, speaking to the gods, talking about the gods was kind of commonplace. It wasn't, unless you were speaking about the darker parts of the faith, then it was kind of like, okay, kind of stay away from that. Then you go through the Middle Ages, and anybody that was thought of as to consorting with the devil, so to speak, conjuring up demons and trying to speak to the dead, and it was like, oh, now we're burning you because you're a witch. And I think it's both. I think it's both worlds. I think it's one's ability to give their words intent. If you look at certain historical cases, right? If you look at, let's just take something from our modern era. The Amityville Horror, for example, Ronald DeFeo Jr. and those murders he committed. Satanic, right? They said that he was being possessed by some demons that were maybe lingering on the property. They I know the movie kind of touched on the Native American stuff, which was wrong, but then looking at, let's say, indigenous history here in the Americas, Native Americans were constantly bringing up their connection to the spiritual world. They were constantly trying to connect their ancestors, the present day and the future, to the spiritual realm. So does that mean that does it really lie within the incantations themselves, what you are exactly trying to evoke? Or is it simply just rolling the dice whenever you do it? Are you accidentally inviting something in at the same time that you're trying to do some good for your situation? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it, like you said, it depends on it's very cultural. It's very time frame specific. It's all the rest of that, right? And I love all of it because all of the things you're talking about kind of tickle that spot in my brain that says, well, maybe this is a thing. It isn't just one culture; it's many cultures that believe the name of the spirit somehow will allow you a number of things. Again, to bring in a blessing maybe from them, to catch their attention, to possibly even have some sort of control over the particular entity itself, whatever it is, right? And so I love it all. Like all the ideas here is kind of coming together. And I think the most compelling part about all of this is it's ancient. This goes back thousands of years, this idea of naming the entity and having some sort of, I don't know, kinship, connection, some sort of power over something to this, even to the point where I was thinking in terms of like, let's say if we go full on nature spirit, right? There's probably a lot, right? And so in terms of spirits and names in mythology and folklore and all the rest of this that we know, there's, probably like the most nastiest or, like the most angelic and the most like demonic are the ones we know. It's like knowing the rock stars, but you don't know, right? The ones that are, let's say, doing work behind the scenes, right? You don't know their names, and I would think that there's a reason for that, right? Almost like they might want to hide that or keep that to themselves in this term of. Meaning that the word as power, their name as power, because you go to Solomon and building the temple with the power of demons and the rest of this. I think it's like 72, right? I think that's it. I got it pulled up here. I think, but it's still right. But there's got to be a ton more than that. You go to the story with Jesus and the swine and throwing out the demons, and they won't even tell him their names. Because there's too many. It was, we are legion, right? I mean, there's a lot of stories here that when you're talking about specifically naming entities, and in some cases, like we said, the worst of the worst, the demons, the dark forces, it seems like they don't want their names known. So I don't know. I love all of it, man. I love the ideas because there's so much here. So what do you think regarding all of this? If you had to guess your best, actually, we got some time. Just go right ahead. Continue with your thoughts. You were doing fine.
No. You're fine. It's good. It gives me kind of an intermediate pause there to kind of collect my thoughts. It's always a good thing. I don't want to keep rambling on like I'm a senile old man on here. Everybody's like, "What's going on here?" I agree with you in the sense that it's really dependent on again. I don't want to call them characters, but I guess the figures that you're evoking either assistance from or asking for something in return or even instructing. And again, I bringing up my examples as to, let's say, if you bringing up, the King Temple of Solomon, King Solomon, and then, the 72 demons and things of that nature. In our modern era, you go to, let's look at the things like the Skinwalker, right? There's a spiritual component to that. You ask, depending on the Native American nation, and they believe in it. They don't want to talk about it because they believe sincerely you speak on it, you will attract that to you. And then Western culture, Hasbro actually has a board game based off of mysticism and early 20th century spiritual movements, and that's the Ouija board. And we're basically telling little kids to move a planchette around and try to communicate with their dead grandma or something, you know? So it's, and I don't want to make it humorous, you know, but it's something to think about, right? It's like, are we entertaining the thought of, like, if we're thinking of the spiritual realm as some kind of, I guess, Mr. Rogers neighborhood-esque doorway where we can open and close the door based off of the power of these words? Or is there something more to that? Maybe the words themselves are some kind of placebo. Maybe it's the energy that we put behind the words themselves. It's not actually the word, because, I mean, we could, you know, people can call on Christ as much as they want in terms of struggle or strife or pain, but does that guarantee that Jesus is going to kind of waltz in and save them in that moment of peril or helplessness? Not necessarily, but then on the same side on the different side of that coin, you could say when somebody's quote unquote possessed and a priest is performing an exorcism and he's using words from the Bible, which have a great amount of meaning and history and intent behind it, that his words somehow cast one of these demons away or malevolent spirits away. So I think, honestly, it has a lot more to do with the intent and the energy behind the words than the words themselves. I think that maybe, depending on your views on whether or not certain spells or phrases or I mean, magical abilities exist among us as people, I mean, you could say, yeah, I guess there could be, you know, conjuring going on, you know, there are quote unquote spell books, you know, H.P. Lovecraft infamously made everyone believe in the Necronomicon. It's actually not true. He kind of made that up, but everybody read that as it was a blueprint to summoning demons, some kind of purview into demonology. But I think that essentially it's really more the energy that you put towards the act itself. And I think that it's really luck. Sometimes it's really luck that whether or not you open that doorway, or open that door within that doorway just enough that you let something in, or you send something back into their realm. It's just dependent on that. I mean, there have been too many cases in history, too many where somebody has seen something, heard something, and done something because somebody played around with this. And when I say play, I don't just mean in the playful sense that somebody was either dabbling or practicing or working with some of this stuff, and something did happen. Now, whether or not they channeled the god that they needed, or the demon that they needed, or the entity that they needed based off of these words of evocation, that's a whole nother debate. But I sincerely think that there's something there. If there wasn't all these people throughout time who there have been, I mean, whether it's documentations, ancient texts, modern day, you know, the 24/7 news cycle, as you call it, there have been just stories, constant stories, and to discount all of it because one thing doesn't make sense does a disservice to anything else that could make sense, if you get my meaning.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad you brought up Skinwalker as well, so the Skinwalker Ranch. I did an interview a while back with an individual. His name is Danon from Navajo Nation. And you know what he told me, very specifically what you told me, is that they don't call that spirit by its name. They simply call it coyote. And not only that, his elders don't want him speaking about it outside of the tribe, because they do believe that if you talk about whatever the name of that spirit is, he wouldn't tell me. He said they just simply call it coyote in Navajo Nation. But the Skinwalker itself is not immune to calling it. It somehow hears you, and they don't want to do that. They don't want to bring it around. Absolute wild stuff. We are out of time, my friend. Fantastic stuff. Thank you for lining up and calling in early, Nick in California. We got to go. We got to go. Thanks for kicking it off. You're the best. I appreciate it very much. Like I said, you're welcome here anytime. Okay.
No, thank you so much, Michael, for the show. Hello, everybody, and let's keep keeping the ball rolling.
Right on. Appreciate it very much. There you go. Nick, getting us started tonight. We're talking about the power in a name. Spiritual entities, again, of course, we have to start with the premise that these things are real. What do you think? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More naming the entity and power in that name, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss the idea of power in a name. And I'm calling it, what am I calling it? What is this? What did I call this thing? Power Word Evocation. Now, what does that mean, right? Exactly. I'll explain why I said that. And if you guys aren't Dungeons and Dragons fans, we're going to nerd out just a little bit, and we'll talk about power word spells. Okay, because in these terms, we're talking about sort of maybe not evocation or invocation, which are two different things, by the way. We'll get to that as well. But there's these spells in Dungeons and Dragons known as power word spells. And so clearly and obviously there's sort of these, you guys have heard it, abracadabra, hocus pocus, right? Like some of the pop culture type, tropes, right? Okay, well, there's actually these spells in Dungeons and Dragons. Let me see if I can pull this up, and I'll tell you what this is real quick and how I got to this power word evocation. Because look, there's a thing, and this is, anybody, any noob in D&D that's read any of the books for any amount of time knows that there are these spells, right? And they're known as exactly just called power word. Okay, check this out. And the original D&D, there's three. There's power word stun, power word blind, and of course, the worst one, power word kill. And of course, only the let's say the most powerful sorcerers, wizards, whatever you're playing, whatever actual, like Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's going to be the first edition or the fifth edition. The first edition is going to be a wizard. You might be a sorcerer or something in fifth. I don't know. They got all kinds of classes and subclasses now. I'm an old guy, so I remember the original power word stun, which again is only by a spell level 7, and a power word blind, spell level 8, and power word kill, spell level 9. A creature of 100 or less hit points is instantly killed. But creatures with more than 100 hit points are immune. So if you know what that means in Dungeons and Dragons terms, then you're with me. If you're not, well, like I said, it's just abracadabra, right? Except the thing is, it's these spell words that are very long and even unpronounceable to the uninitiated, okay? And so that's sort of the idea here with naming the entity and the power residing in a name itself. And so maybe that's why in some of these terms you have, let's see, demonic forces. And again, we'll get to that story with Jesus and the swine and throwing out the demons, legion, and all the rest of that, right? But the thing is, if there is power in able to control, let's say, entities from the other side of the veil, whatever that means to you, if there is power in that, it makes sense that entities from the other side would try to keep their names secret. And again, right, what was the thing, Rumpelstiltskin, right? Didn't he try and look? This just came to me right now. I wish I looked it up before, but wasn't his name a big secret? Right. And again, and I think this is part of the problem when you talk about names of ancient entities. They're probably going to be mostly non-pronounceable because it's in terms of the human tongue, human speech, and human language. That's not what these entities or individuals do. Right? They weren't like, thousands of years ago, they weren't speaking English and saying, "Hey, bro, what's up? Poo poo emoji. High five." No. Right? It's different. So what do you think? Naming the entity. Do you think there is power in calling out the name of, again, a deity? or a demon, or invocation and evocation. We'll get to that in the second half. I want to save that for a little bit, and we'll get into the difference in those two things. But do you believe there is power? We've talked about the power of words in general, meaning specifically that if you, let's say right now, many people have told me that, speaking in the term that we do here on the show, and just kind of sort of free flow from like, whatever, like wherever it's coming from, wherever the inspiration comes from, is sort of spellcraft. All right. And probably not, I do my best if that's the case, probably not in terms of casting evil spells on people. I'm, again, glass half full. We're trying to be positive here and all the rest of that stuff, which is why I'm not going to list all the demons' names. Unless you really want me to, let's just summon up some demons for a lot of people out there. No, I'm just kidding. Not going to do that. But I mean, we'll get Ryan and Joe on the show, and then we'll do it again. But you know what I mean, right? So is there some sort of power in calling the name of the entity, not just the name of the entity too? Because I was looking at some of the Ouija board stuff, and like MJ said in the chat a ways up, if you get let's say a demon that gives you a false name, that becomes a problem, right? That becomes problematic, because what are they actually trying to do? They're telling you, I'm grandma that's passed away, right? Well, what if they're not? Becomes problematic. So anyway, what do you guys think about this? 702-957-1037. Is this real? Is this not real? Is it somewhere in between? And that's where these conversations are from. Let's see, who is first? Let's go to Matt in Colorado. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. Test 1, 2, go right ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
Well, my quick answer is yes. It's real. It's a thing. I think that for a number of reasons. It's interesting. I just want to lead off by saying, as you did the introduction there, my brain started turning because I can't stop it from doing that. And so I was taking some notes. And right as I started writing the word attention, I was like, ATT, and you spoke the word attention. And you were like, or is it because we give it our attention? I was writing the word as you said it. And actually, also Matt in California put that in the chat. So I think that's one of, like, I would say 3 key components. So we know a bit about consciousness, and we got the split experiment and entangled particles that our consciousness can affect matter, and it can affect other people's consciousness from other experiences and experiments that we know. So where our attention goes, our energy flows. So if you give attention to whatever being, benevolent, malevolent, etc., that is going to have an effect. And one of the ways of giving that attention is by, calling their name. And I think the second thing is intention. And in the Toltec sorcery tradition, which goes back 2,000-3,000 years to Central and South America, they would always say that all feats of magic are accomplished by intention. So what your intent is what gives power to the magic. So that's where you can kind of get into, despite how maybe that's not their name, maybe that's not how you pronounce it in English, maybe they're on a different dimension. It doesn't matter. If that's your intention, that can still have the power, that can still do the work. So Nick in California brought up intention, and I think he's right. That's an aspect of it. So we have giving the attention to them. We have the intention. There's certain names I won't say. There's a lot of lines and references to, the one that shall not be named. People, it's a long tradition of people not wanting to say the names of certain beings or spirits or demons or entities, etc. And I think that goes really to the third point, which is that there can be a vibration in a name. And this is a really complicated aspect of it. So one, back in the old days and in the old languages, vowels were considered actually magic, the vowel sounds. And in the different languages, the Aramaic and before that, the vowel sounds actually, I've heard this, that they actually resonated with the object itself. So in English, we say tree, but the way the original word for tree was, something about the sounds of tree actually vibrated similar to tree. So a way to imagine this would be cymatics. Okay, so they play a sound, say on a glass table with sand on it, and they play a musical note or a sound, and it forms into a geometry. So there's a connection between matter and form and the frequency and the vibration of sound. And so the human voice is capable of making a sound that is actually commensurate with and relates to a physical object or maybe a spirit. And so, maybe English isn't the best, but, we don't necessarily have the exact vowel sounds and the exact pronunciation that some older languages, did, but maybe some of that's still in effect.
So it's different though. So it's like casting a spell, like in let's say esoteric terms. I don't even know like if there's modern spells. I'll just call it all the same because I don't know anything about anything. But let's say that like you can't just think of it. You have to say something. It's like the resonant of your voice, and that's cymatics, right? The resonance of the words that give it power, whatever that happens to be. But then there's also, in many terms, the way it's been described, again, like I said, and this may be pop culture tropes for all I know, but then there's got to be some sort of component, an herbal component, frankincense, wormwood, things like this, whatever it happens to be, right? Deadly nightshade, whatever these things are. But then also there's got to be some sort of ritual element. So it's spoken, it's some sort of actual like device or component combined, like a mortar and pestle, something like this. And then on top of it, an action as well, sort of like a binding of things that make all of this happen. So I don't know, like I said, that's from playing Ultima Online back in 1999 or so, whatever, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know if that's all pop culture trope, that's fine. So, but it seems like the spoken word does have some sort of stick to it for a particular reason.
Right. Well, and it is the sound, and that's a vibration, and that's a physical effect. Now, in terms of the other components of the ritual and the additional things, I think that is those are sort of fictitious. What those are doing is they're setting the intention. In other words, that's sort of the placebo effect, which Nick mentioned as well. So if you use, this particular herb and you do this particular thing, those are taught to people. They believe in them. That sort of helps them set their intention, their belief, and creates the placebo effect. But and the power of the spoken word. I went to sort of a metaphysical church that, they did a whole thing with science of mind treatments and not to be confused with religious science and it was by the power of the spoken word. And when I pray, or, sort of meditate sort of thing, not pray in a Christian sort of way, but when I pray or work with, my guides and stuff, I always do it out loud. Because I draw on the power of the spoken word. And there's another aspect of your saying, like casting spells by even just you and I speaking or anybody speaking to each other. There's an interesting thing. If I just say the word love right now to you, to the listeners, there's a weird thing that happens that in your brain, it's going to go look up the definition of love, and it's going to go look up all the associations of like maybe your mom, maybe your dad, maybe your wife, and it's going to go, what does love mean? And it's kind of going to conjure this whole thing in your mind. And so when we're speaking, we are conjuring things in other people's mind, and their mind is related to their consciousness. So words do conjure into consciousness. That's an aspect of it too, because consciousness is not necessarily localized, right? So if words can conjure into consciousness and consciousness is not localized, then our spoken words can do that sort of conjuring. So I think it's a deal. I think it's a true thing.
Okay, it's a thing. It's a thing. I appreciate it. We got calls behind you. Got to bounce. Matt here in Colorado, good friend of mine, a good friend of the show. So he's got a book. Please check it out. Links in the description down below. It is called exactly this: Escape the Matrix and Explore Reality, a Guide to Radical Transformation and Empowerment. He's got a coupon code there. I think there's still some left. You can get a free copy. Links in the description. Check it out. Matt, you're the best. I appreciate the phone call. I appreciate your take as always. You're welcome to stay right there if you want to listen on Discord. Thanks for chiming in. You're the best, bro.
Okay, thanks, Michael. You're the best.
Thanks a lot. Have a fantastic night. What do you guys think? Naming the entity, power in a name, meaning let's say you call upon an ancient Greek god or a Roman god. You say Mercury or you say Apollo, right? You say Saturn. If you call upon the name of an actual entity, does it notice? And again, like I said, I'm not expecting anybody to believe Greek gods are real, or maybe you believe they are. I don't know. I'm in between. I don't know. It's a coin flip to me. Like I would think that if we give power and attention to these entities, maybe that makes them real. Sort of that Slender Man, Tulpa sort of egregore idea of things. But what do you believe? Again, it doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what you believe, because this is your reality. I'll handle mine. You handle yours. We'll come together. We'll talk about it. What do you think? Naming the entity, is there power? Is there power in, let's say, throwing out demons by naming the demon itself? Things like this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. Go right ahead. How are you tonight?
Hey, so I was thinking about, you guys were talking about belief is like very strong into it, like, right? So like if someone tells you something and you believe it, that, like, I don't know, like, I kind of forgot where I was going, but like when I had my experience, like I saw something and I called it, right? And I put a name to it. And then, like, I noticed once I had that belief of it, I was more like it almost opened me up to more like things, you know? Like, it's kind of weird. And I think repetition really has to do with it. Like, if you're talking demons and stuff, like bad things, like manipulative stuff that happens, like anything, like someone that has a negative against you and is like has the intention to change that in you, and like you're in like I remember like situations where power of words, like I would like cripple I would like cripple people with like my words because like I would go into these crazy states and stuff, and like that's like the definition of like being possessed almost, like. But I'm like I think it all like comes from like the zone though, right? It's like the inner layers. Like it could not be an entity, it could just be the layers of yourself, like a cake. And if you flavor those layers enough a certain way, then you're gonna go that way, right? You're gonna taste like that flavor more. But there's tons of flavors. You're like a gobstopper.
Hey, give me cheesecake all day. No, I get what you're saying here, and so meaning though, like is there in those moments like a differentiation between, let's say, the entity and yourself? Maybe those entities are part of yourself, and you're tapping into that bridge, that connection that we all have with those same entities. Something like that. So you said the name of this particular entity was
it.
Go ahead.
Change you. Like it can like literally make you not you, for sure. And I do have theories of like people being able to harness these things, since like I couldn't imagine, like it would be just like movie Jason Bourne where they can wake up anyone, you know, and like I think we were talking about like Disneyland and like Vegas and stuff like that, using like symbols and stuff and literally guiding people's lives without them knowing it. That would kind of be like a demon thing.
Yeah, sort of that MK Ultra sort of thing, or even like the news cycles and that sort of the brainwash media. Same sort of thing, right? It's sort of a way in, and maybe that's like ritual magic spells to get into your brain. It gets wild, doesn't it? Have you heard about this thing with Jesus and the swine, right? Where there was so just a story in brief. There was a couple people that were possessed. They called Jesus to come help. He shows up and he says, demons, I command you, tell me your name. And they won't. They say, there are many, for we are legion. And so it is said, again, there's two of the Gospels have differing stories regarding exactly what happened, but he cast them out into 2,000 swine, right? So like how many demons fit into 2,000 pigs? Right? That's a lot of demons in a person, man. Like, have you heard that story?
Yeah. No, I haven't. That's got me thinking, like, so they turned them into pigs?
No, so he took the demons out of the people and he cast the demons into pigs. And so as part of, and they still do it in like the Roman Catholic faith. They still do sort of this exorcism ritual, in where they command the name of the demon to gain some sort of power over it. But again, like if you were the demon, even right commanded through magic, you're gonna not want to give that up if it gives people power over you, right? I think, yeah. Terminal Arch said, then the pigs jumped off the cliff and died. Thank you for adding that. And yeah, so go ahead, my friend.
I mean, I don't think you can, like, the name of like some of these things. I don't think what's the name, you know? Like you can like the last caller said, you can just say like what it is, like, kind of like you can like try to explain it and like maybe replicate it completely, but who's to say that's its name? I mean, you guess you could call it that, right? Like, I don't know. That's to say if like these things are actually like energy forms that are around here, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to say, and that's why we talk about it, right?
Ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
Even if it's ourselves, like we get altered into a demon form, but it's like something that's happened to other people. Like it's like a repetitive. So like maybe you can like measure that for sure, but I don't know how you would name it.
Well, I think, again, back to the Rumple, I'm going to look up Rumpelstiltskin over the break here, because I think there was power in his name, right? Something to that effect as well. So I'm going to look this up. But I think the thing here is that it was said in, again, King Solomon tamed the demons through some sort of magic, the magic ring and all this other stuff, and he was able to name them. And we have the names of 72 demons in particular, because I think it's 72. I'm going to look up the number. I keep saying that, but I will do it. And because he knew their names, he was able to have power over them as part of the ritual in taking command. So I don't know, man.
That sounds like something like inside of him, all right? That sounds like something he's like harnessing inside of himself to like put himself, like how he's explaining his craft of his mind. Like maybe back in the day, I mean, that's all they had was their own mind. That's the biggest tool, is your mind. So whoever, I mean, that's how I see it. It's kind of like controlling your demons. It would be really bizarre if you were able to tap into different layers and then like actually get like the name. I mean, because I felt something. Like I felt like it was something. Like I when I reached like the near death part, like I felt a name almost. But like it wasn't like a name, it was like a presence of something. So I just called it.
See, almost like it was.
I felt like I had to name it though.
But almost like it was withholding this name from you too. We're out of time, bro. We got to bounce. You're the best, Joseph. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the input here. Joseph here has a YouTube channel called IO Walks. Check it out. Links in the description down below. Fantastic call as always from Joseph. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Have a fantastic night. Looking to hear from you tonight. 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. What do you know about the power in a name of an entity? Love to hear your thoughts. Don't go anywhere. MJ in Virginia and your calls as well when we return. Be right back.
You're listening to Troubled Minds. Join us as we discuss an upside-down world that nobody seems to notice.
We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are going random images as they traverse neurons in the brain. And they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Yo ho, yo ho. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Monday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things, you may wonder? Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. We are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and we're taking your phone calls as we discuss the name of an entity. Is there power in a name? Meaning, if you know the name of, let's say, an ancient god long forgotten, and you're able to utter it, speak it with conviction, are you able to get that ancient deity's attention? Let's say, spin it the other way. What about an actual, let's say, demonic entity? If you know the name of the demon or the evil entity, are you able to have power over it? That's what we're talking about tonight. Lots of ways to take this. We were talking about maybe Skinwalker Ranch and the actual Skinwalker and the native tradition. And, of course, we're talking about Jesus casting the demons from the swine, the We Are Legion, because they wouldn't tell him their names. There's a lot of things here to think about, a lot of things to talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You go to troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. So go to, thanks for being patient, my friend, MJ in Virginia. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead, my friend. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you, Michael?
A-okay, my friend. Tell me you know something about this. Is there power in a name?
Yes, there is a power in the name. If you're in a store and I yell your name out, that's going to get your attention. That's power in the name Michael. And you go, what? You're going to look around, what? That's power in the name. When you call up a demon or an entity or a god, they have the names that we know them by, but they have a specific name that's going to be maybe the same lettering, kind of, but it's going to be enunciated a little differently. You call that name. That's an exact name to that exact being, not the energy, but the being itself and the energy and all that. You have just provoked a conversation with that being, demon or not.
Okay, that's so at the most basic function of this, it's sort of like just an attention getter. Now, is there more to this? In that, is there like we were talking about ritual and incantations and like wormwood and spice and things like this? Is there elements to that as far as you're aware, or do you think it's just as simple as maybe an intention and like a super pure focus, like a meditation or something? How does that work? Or prayer? Or that would be probably a better term.
Okay, what all of that does, it helps to prepare you or build you up so you can find the intention of all of that. So it's your way of teaching yourself how to do that. After a while, it's just intuitive or an intent to go directly to the being. You can use all the other stuff, but for people who don't know what to do, it teaches them on how to get to the intent, because it basically works you into it. Okay, so after you're doing that, it's just an intuitive feeling or an intent because you know the path. Example of intent, okay? And I actually did this. There's an old Hawaiian saying, it's ho'oponopono. And what it means is you're being very grateful, very thank you, you're humbled, thank you so much, type of thing. Thank you for giving, I appreciate it. It's gratefulness. And there's also a movement in Qigong where you stand up straight and you put your arms out and you circle them like you're hugging a tree. Now, what I did with this, and it worked. So you breathe in, you pull the earth energy up into, and then you breathe out and you release the energy back into the earth. So every time I would do that, I'd say ho'oponopono back and forth. I worked at a place where it was so negative. People just viciously attacking each other every day. And they went after me one day. I said, no, we're not doing that. Now, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. But what I did was I was standing out in the park just doing that ho'oponopono, breathing back and forth. And all I could, my intent was, in my head, I just saw needles shoving to their throat, into their larynx, just shoving it so they wouldn't say anything. And I kept doing that until I kept doing it. And then all of a sudden it just started leaving me, or like it was played out. So I stopped. I went in the next day, and it was a very small room I was in, actually. And I went in the next day. Every time anybody that worked there came in, they'd bow their heads down, walk by me, and not say a word. For a day and a half, it was quiet. Nobody said anything negative about anything. Towards the end of the second day, it just sort of all started coming back again. But they were a little different, reacting to me or being around me at that point in time. It took longer to have that wear off. But it does work. And so the two things I was doing was very peaceful, graceful, gracious things to the earth and to people. But my thoughts were very insidious.
Okay, so the actual thought, your thought form, your tulpa is maybe this is the connection, right? Like you've created this thought form that creates a bridge to whatever entity you're calling to, and then the intent is whether it's a rickety, precarious bridge, or, and I'm going metaphor here, or right, like the solid bridge of I don't know, the Golden Gate. the pearly gates. I don't know. Right? Something. You get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I didn't have the intent on calling any kind of entity. For some reason, I just chose those two things. But what it means is you can almost choose anything. In a sense, I think almost anything. I think there still has to be a connection to all of what you're doing. But the intent was the strongest, and I went directly to what I wanted to happen, how I wanted it to happen, and I wanted the effects of what was supposed to happen. So I was very clear on all of that. You have to be very clear about it and very direct. You can't mess around about it because it'll boomerang out and may come back and hit you, or just kind of fly out there for a little while until it wears itself out and not do anything.
Okay. All right. So I did over the break. I did scan this Rumpelstiltskin super fast because I can read super fast, or at least I can skim super fast. You familiar with the Rumpelstiltskin fairy tale?
Somewhat.
I'll give you the 30-second version, and I want your take on this. So again, Miller's daughter is trapped in the tower, and she's tasked to spin straw into gold. She can't do it because clearly it's impossible. An imp shows up in the middle of the night as she's crying, starts spinning the straw into gold for her. The powers that be come in the morning. They're like, "Holy crap, you did it!" And she's like, "Yeah, I did it." He bounced, right? The imp left. 2 nights, right? It happens again. So now they think she's like the golden child. She's not. This imp shows up and does it. The second night, she sneaks out and goes to find this imp in the forest where he's dancing around this fire and muttering to himself his name, which of course is Rumpelstiltskin. She was not to know his name. And when he comes back for the third try, she outs him at who he is, and just the power of his name runs him off forever. And again, there's different versions of this. There's the Grimm fairy tale and some other things, but the idea of the power of the name over the entity is embodied in that imp, the evil imp. And what he wanted, actually, was her baby eventually. He wanted to take her baby for who knows what sort of illicit purposes, but maybe that was a minute and a half. But anyway, so what is your thought on that? Rumpelstiltskin, the power in the name, and that Grimm's fairy tale?
Well, again, if you find out their name, what happens, because I've kind of dealt with some of this over the years, you find out the name, and basically it's kind of giving up their secret, like their big secret. I've talked to them, a couple of demons on the board, and was talking to them. They won't give me their name, so I wonder what their specialty is, what do you do, yada, yada, yada. Once I started talking to them, I realized that it was like talking to somebody else here on the planet, your neighbor, or something like that. It got to the point where it got to be a comfortable conversation. And that's pretty much it. They wouldn't give me their name now. What happens if you know the name, or it's like, not so much the name, the intent. Let's say you meet somebody and you learn the intent of what they're actually going to do. You figure that out and you say it back to them. That kind of kills it for them, because their intent, they didn't want you to know what they were going to do in order to get what they wanted out of you, to manipulate you. Now you know their intent, you can, you say it right back in their face. It kind of killed the whole situation for them. So basically you're saying the same thing about the name, because you're killing the intent once you know them. It's up front in the face. Now I know who you are. I know you. You killed the intent.
Okay. All right. That tracks. That seems to make sense to me. That there's maybe, like you said, if you call my name and it catches my attention, that's one thing. And by the way, too, Michael is named after an archangel, Michael, like, right? And I mean, so I wonder, right? I wonder if, like there's 10 billion Michaels in the world, if that gives power to the angel itself. I don't know. Crazy thoughts, man. Crazy thoughts here for me. Fantastic stuff from you, as always. We got to bounce. We got calls behind you, so let's get your final thought, my friend.
Final thought? I want to go to Skinwalker Ranch with my board. I just want to go after that place and see what I can come up with.
Hell yeah. I'd love to. I'd even go with you, man. I'd go with you. I'd stand back in case that board is spontaneously combusted. And I'd have a fire extinguisher to put you out, though. I'm not going to run. I'll put you out and then I'll run. You're the best, MJ. I appreciate the phone call. Great take as always. Always a pleasure. Have a great night, my man.
All right, you too, bud.
Thanks a lot. 702-957-1037. We're talking about the naming the entity. Again, back to Rumpelstiltskin. And I can't believe I forgot. I was trying to rack my brain for the most obvious. Having the name of an entity and the power over that entity. And like came to me as I'm like talking, it's weird, sort of this stuff that comes out of your brain. And you're like, oh, crap. Rumpelstiltskin. Wasn't there power in that name? Sure as crap. I go look it up, and yeah. Again, and this is like something I knew when I was like 12 or something, right? Like these are memories coming back from, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. What do you think? Is there naming the entity? Is there power in this? 702-957-1037. Great stuff from MJ. Appreciate it very much. Let's go to Daryl in New York. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. How are you? Long time no talk, Daryl. What's up? What's up?
Yes. Hi, Michael. Very good show. Great calls. I was thinking about this. Like, why do some religions do get possessed by demons and some don't? Like, I don't understand that. I think it's a matter, and there's something about intention. I think everybody's mentioned that word intent, their intention. So I think it's basically what you're thinking behind, before summoning something. They might be demons, they might be angels. I think it depends on your intention, how you are looking for them. They could be Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, it depends who you're talking to. And, what if they're, the names, what's in the name, Can you summon Buttercup, the devil, or, that Blackula, the angel, what's in a name? I mean, but I was thinking about this cult in Florida that they were, I think they were like a pot-smoking Rastafarian cult, and they couldn't say the name of their god, Yahweh, right? I'm going to say it because it's, apparently it's not going to affect me because I'm not part of that cult. But they couldn't say the name of their god. It would be, it was forbidden. And like I go to church occasionally, and they always say the word Yahweh. In the Christian, the Christian people do. It's not a problem for them, but for this particular cult, they couldn't say the word Yahweh. That was just like their stigma or their, unsafe word. And then one more thing I wanted to mention was I noticed there were Native Americans that used to conjure up their ancestors. Now, how bad can your ancestors be? They used to conjure them up to help them in war or help them in healing. There was strength in numbers, even if there's only 3 of them. But if they conjure their ancestors, they have that kind of army, and that would give them strength, So I think it's your intention and your, depending on what your belief system is and what you're taught. The other thing I was thinking about was like 5G technology and this other technology they have that can, make you, I heard this on your show or some other show. My friend thought I was out of my mind when I told him this. Yeah, I hate when that happens. I heard it. It sounds like technology, but they said they can actually make you hear voices in your head. Like pet that dog or, push that person in front of a train or whatever, that kind of voices. Maybe Manchurian Candidate kind of voices or whatever voices. They can literally make you hear something. And I think these chips can make, the technology. So who knows if you've been summoning a devil or a demon or you're just getting like these, MK Ultra kind of possessions, It's not a real possession. It's just kind of like a manipulated, technology,
It's like too much Tucker Carlson on Fox News, or too much Don Lemon. You start to become possessed with like the unholy spirit.
You're not being possessed at all. You just have these people bothering with the 5G and this and that, and they're chipping you, and they put a little graphene oxide in you, and suddenly they can give you.
Okay. Be careful. We're getting taken down off of YouTube for comments like that. So please keep that in your back pocket.
I'm just saying, just for an example. Just saying. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
This is just jokes here. This is joke. I mean, we're talking about evil spirits for crying out loud. Come on, YouTube. Give us a break.
Who gives them their name? Like, are they born? Does like Mr. and Mrs. Demon say, okay, we're going to name our kid Cthulhu? That's look how cute the baby is. Who names them that? Who gives them their name?
Yeah, Gucci Goo Cthulhu. Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? So as part of all of this, we have this sort of circular thing, like you mentioned. So biblically, it's YHWH, right? That's the term of like the biblical God himself, and so there's no like they left out the vowels, and so that becomes Yahweh, like you said. But the problem is with that. So which is it? So in some cases, right, and again, pardon my blasphemy, but in some cases, if you speak the name of the entity itself, and again, we're talking about the Almighty God, everybody relax, it's blasphemy. But in other terms, it's a power word. So what the hell is that? Why is it different, right?
Right. It depends on who's, what cult you're in, what religion you're following. I'm not saying everything's a cult, but look at that cult in Florida that, if you'd get punished if you said Yahweh. You just never said it out loud. And when I heard my preacher saying it it's like nothing, I'm like thinking, oh, I guess this isn't the same rules for this congregation, It depends on your congregation. Like, why can't you say it in one? And it depends on what your beliefs are, I suppose. So one man's verboten, words are whatever. I don't know. I'm just being objective because I am not religious, so I can't really, say one way or the other. If you believe in it, it's your intent. If you believe it's harmful, if you believe it's powerful, then it would be. If you don't believe it's powerful, then it won't be. I think it's your intent. Being an impartial, observer maybe, but I don't know. I really don't know. But just saying, and the other thing is, like, these guys are busy, like if you can't summon up all these demons, they have a lot of things that they're doing. Like, think about it. How many people are calling on Jesus, Like, remember I told you about that Saturday Night Live with Sally Field? And she was praying to Jesus so much that he showed up. He's like, can you just, limit your prayers to, really important stuff? Like, don't pray for every little thing, don't pray for the dishwasher to work. And, I mean, can you do me a favor? And she got so devastated. He said, oh, just forget it.
Just keep sending it. Just keep sending the juju. I'll filter it out. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Again, like I don't know, like I've never claimed to be some guru, and I'm certainly not enlightened in any way whatsoever. But I think that it is interesting that, like you described, like, depending on your belief system, right? And there's people that are like, oh, you're with the faith. Oh, you're against the faith, right? Again, to me, you know what I see, and again, this is the thing with me. When I see this stuff and I see religion, and no offense, everybody relax, please, everybody relax. I don't mean this in a pointed way. I mean this in a generalized way. When I see it, to me, it's always been division. It's always been you're in our club or you're not in our club, right? Very binary, this or that, that's it, right? And by the way, within the umbrella of the big umbrella, there's all these other little clubs. So they reject the big club rejects the little club. I mean, it's complicated. It gets complicated, doesn't it?
But I'll give you a simple example. Like, I don't conjure up God. I don't conjure up the devil. When I need something, I ask my father. I said, Daddy, and it's usually something simple like my keys or, help me find my umbrella or my cane. And that's who I pray to, I guess. And he helps me. It's the intent. I could say Jesus. I don't know if it would work, though, but it certainly works when I ask my father. So, I can't tell everybody, well, ask my father for what you want because he gives me everything I want.
Yep.
Just pray to Charles, Daryl's father. I'm just saying it works for me, that's what works for me. I don't have, I'm not going to have any followers or start a congression or, a cult or anything, but, it's the intention. It's what I need at the moment, and that works for me. Maybe if I call Cthulhu, I don't know if he'd find my keys, or, the nameless, headless, monster person, or whatever. I'm just saying what works for them. What works for them. The thing about the possession stuff, though, that definitely mystifies me. I don't understand why does one religion get possessed, and pretty much that's it. I don't know if maybe there are other forms of possession or whatever, but I just find I've never heard of any Jews being possessed. Being Jewish.
Okay.
You never had to call the rabbi.
It's complicated. It's complicated, Daryl. We're gonna have to get into this another time because we're out of time here. But if you go back to King Solomon, those demons were described as jinn. So anyway, I digress. You're the best, Daryl. Thank you so much for the phone call. Daryl here, a good friend of mine, good friend of the shows. Check it out. She's got a YouTube channel. Links in the description. She sings in English and French. She does karaoke right here on the Troubled Minds Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Give her a follow. She's got stuff on paranormal and Morgellons. Daryl, you're the best. Thanks so much for your take. Hilarious as always. Always a pleasure. We're looking to hear from you. Naming the entity. What do you think this is? Is there power in a name when we're talking about entities from the other side? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Matt in California and your calls as well. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockband, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about the power of the name. Now, look, it's like this. If there's a supernatural entity and you know their true name, by speaking it, is there power over that entity one way or another? And that's what's on my mind tonight. What do you think? Again, like Daryl said, it depends on what you believe, doesn't it? Because, of course, in some cases, speaking the name of a true, let's say, supernatural, paranormal, even godlike entity, or God, him or herself, however you view this, could be blasphemy. But in other terms, you're conjuring or summoning something negative. So how does this work? What the hell do you know about this? I don't know anything. I just think it's a fascinating concept and we're here talking about. So again, we're streaming it on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, Fringe FM, 702-957-1037. Go to Matt in California. There you go. Fast enough. What's up, Matt? Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight, my man?
Good. How are you doing tonight, Mike?
A-okay. Talking about this weird, it seems ritual magic type stuff, or is this something different?
I believe there's power in a name, because we said this before, if you're in a room full of people and they're chitter-chattering, or there's a TV on, and you hear someone say Mike, even though they're not talking to you, you automatically, or someone says Matt, you lift your head up and look. And I have a funny one. There's a famous baseball player named Matt Chapman. So when people are talking about baseball or on the TV baseball, I hear my full name. I'm like, what? I'm looking around. So yeah.
Yeah, what did I do? It's one of my favorite players, by the way. Obviously and clearly, he came from the A's, bro. And then they traded him, and I cried that day. I had lots of big booger tears. But yeah, okay. Yeah. So there is. That would be wild, too, if somebody was saying my real name when there's like a broadcast on. I'm like, wait, what? What? Hey, leave me alone, man. I'm over here just chilling. Quit bothering me, right?
Yeah, so the thing with the demons, the first thing the exorcist wants to do is get the demon's name. And like all the movies, I thought that's interesting. I don't understand the reason for that. Maybe it's because if you have their name, you can banish them. If you can summon them with their name, you can banish them with their name. So maybe there's someone out there who can help us with that. But then it helps me think of too is the jinn, the genies. Have you ever noticed in all pop culture that I can think of, all the genies, they don't have names. You have Robin Williams, the best genie from Aladdin. His name was Genie. You have Genie from I Dream of Genie. It's an old school black and white show. Her name was Genie, but spelled with the J. And then you also have the Wishmaster. He's a scary genie, but he's the Wishmaster. That's a title, not his name. So I'm wondering if these genies know that, and that's why they hide their name, because they don't want humans to know their name so they can summon them and get their 3 wishes.
Yeah,
that power.
Yeah, again, and back to the Rumpelstiltskin thing. He was an imp, right? He had the ability to weave his straw into gold, magic powers. But if you knew his true name, you could banish him, and that's exactly what happened in that Grimm fairy tale. So I wonder, man, like, it seems like there is something here. And again, it's like, it's not even just like one time. It's like cultural. It's like goes deep into history. It's cultures all over the damn world. And again, back to the Navajo tradition of that skinwalker. They don't like to call it what it is. They have a nickname for it. And they don't like to talk about it. Coyote, right? For instance.
Yeah.
So it's weird to me. So you would expect that in this case that there's something amiss, something to this. And what about people? And you were typing this as well in the chat. Beetlejuice. Yeah. What about invoking the name 3 times? What about how about this? What about not just a name? What about a notion? Remember, in Wizard of Oz, she said, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home." So, is there some sort of power in like 3 times doing the thing? What do you know about that?
Yeah, I believe 3 is a magical number, 369. But also, I don't know the whole why they say it 3 times, but I was gonna go into about not only not knowing their names, but it's the way they're spelt. And a good example of this is Beetlejuice. Because when you say Beetlejuice, if you remember in the movie, he's trying to get them to say his name. And they're reading it. And the way his name is spelt, it's spelt like the star. It's spelt Beetlegeist with a G. And so they're saying Beetlegeist. That's not his name. So that was written down. They're saying Beetlegeist. And he's trying to show them a picture of a beetle and a picture of orange juice. And that's how they get Beetlejuice. So I'm wondering if these demons or these other creatures, the way their name is spelled, another example would be Cthulhu. When you see Cthulhu written down, some people spell it with a C, some people spell it with a K. But when you see the word Cthulhu, doesn't it doesn't look like an English word, it just looks like jumbled letters. So we might not even, we're saying Cthulhu, but that might not even be how it's said. It could be like Cthulhu or something different. And then what's the other one? In Indiana Jones, remember the part where he's looking for the Grail, and he has to go these trials, and he comes to this room. There's letters on the floor, and they're like jump on the words and spell God's name. And so Indy says, "That's easy. God's name is Jehovah." So he jumps on the J, and he almost falls through. And you hear his dad, Sean Connery. You hear him, "You idiot! Jehovah in Latin starts with an I."
Exactly. Fantastic scene. That movie is so good. That movie is so good.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's not only their names, it's the way it's spelt could throw us off. So we're not accidentally summoning Cthulhu, because how long, all night we stay up talking about Cthulhu, are we going to summon him? Maybe we're not even saying his name right.
Yeah, so actually in the book, The Call of Cthulhu, there's his name is unpronounceable to the human tongue. Like literally, it's a gigantic name that's so long that humans just cannot say. Even his high priests cannot say his full name. And so to us, it's shortened because it's how we say these things, right? As humans, again, only able to do human things. But again, right? So is there power in that? Or do you need to be able to say the whole damn thing? Because like you said, Beetlejuice and Beetlegeist are 2 very different things, and they're spelled differently. The G, the U, the E, the right? Or just the straight, like the beetle and the juice, right? And the movie is called, just like you said, Beetlejuice, just like it sounds, just like in English, but the star itself is spelled completely differently, right? Crazy, man. I mean,
there's a difference between the cartoon. The cartoon was spelled actual Beetlejuice, but the movie spelled Beetlegeist.
Yeah, Beetlegeist. Is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm not even the expert there. We got the expert on deck. We'll go to James in a minute. And, he's the expert. Yeah. So what else you got regarding this? Why would there be power in the name? Let's say if you're casting out a demon or something. Why do you think there would be power in knowing it's like one secret?
I think a lot of it has to do with faith, and we were talking about intention as well. And just like faith, like how Daryl said, she calls her father's name. You know, if she believes in it, why wouldn't it work? So I think a lot of it has to do with faith. And so if that's your God you believe in, good, you know, do your thing. Say, if you're calling upon a God to help you, call upon it to help you. And so there's malevolent and benevolent entities too. But when we call upon their gods, we're asking them, not really asking them for help, we're asking them for maybe power to help us help ourselves. We're not asking for something and then sitting around waiting for the God to answer us. We're kind of partnering with them and trying to like walk with them like friends instead of like thinking of them as a higher being, calling it down. We're trying to become like partner with it. And there's lots of different gods out there that you can call upon.
Yeah, there certainly seems to be a big list. I keep reading about these fantastic mythologies the world over, and there's a big list, my friend. so which ones can you call? Which ones can you not? I guess I don't know. It gets complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's studying. Yep. I'm gonna go. Next people.
You're the best. You're the best, Matt. Matt in California. Thank you very much. Tell Lacey I said hi. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call, my friend. We're still talking about naming the entity. Good night, my man. So the thing is this, right? So if you actually have, let's say again, if you call out Yahweh, or again, there's some entities you call out the name and it's blasphemy, right? There's other entities, and again, I know there's like hierarchies and the rest of this. So please we're not going to get bogged down in that. Just curious why some things are like blasphemous and other things are like, let's summon the demon. I mean, I guess that'd be blasphemous too. But what's going on with this? Naming the entity itself, there's power over it. Again, Solomon, I did look it up. It is 72 demons, and they had specific names for every single. Actually, they called them jinn then, right? But every single there's 72 names, and that's where a lot of these actual like demonic names come from in modern terms, right? If I go to the first edition Monster Manual, the names of those like demon princes, the princes of hell, in the Monster Manual for Dungeons and Dragons, the first edition, because they got rid of the devils after that because everybody freaked out, the Satanic Panic and all that. Those names are also, by the way, very, very, very similar or the same names as those 72 demons from Solomon. Anyway, what do you guys think? 702-957-1037. James in Michigan, South Cedar Paranormal. What's up, bro? Let's talk Beetlejuice or whatever else you got. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm using the app today now for the first time because I could not use it on the Discord on the browser for some reason. So I had no idea if this was going to work or not.
Welcome to the 21st century, my friend.
Yeah. So I love that Matt C. brought up Beetlejuice, just because Beetlejuice. But this whole topic is really, I think it's complicated in a lot of ways. Partly because I do think there is something to naming these beings and to trying to contact them. But then I wonder if that's the only way for them to ever appear to anyone. And I say that because there are stories of people having paranormal experiences with beings that they did not, at least intentionally, summon. And then there's cases where I've read online people talk about how they did this or they did that, they used the Ouija board or they did this or did that, and nothing ever happened. Or they'll say nothing happened, but then I had this experience years later, and you wonder, well, was there nothing that happened after all? Or did it just take some more time for whatever they contacted to either to be able to or to decide to become active?
Yeah, it's a good question, and that's why again, James was the beneficiary. I sent him the thing and said, "This is what we're doing tonight, James. What's up? What's up?" And there's a lot to this, isn't there? Again, James Salcedo Paranormal. He's got a paranormal podcast. He does paranormal news and all this other stuff too. He talks about book reviews, Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, reading Orwell 1984, and Animal Farm. I mean, there's some dark stuff there, but back to the paranormal world, there are some similarities and parallels with like casting out demons, right? I mean, it's weird, man. It's weird. It's just like, wait, so you would think, and again, let's go back to, with spoilers, I'll shut up. So I was going to say Vecna, Stranger Things, a whole different thing. But okay, what else you got regarding this, the paranormal world and this idea of the power of the name of the entity itself?
Yeah, I mentioned this to you in the direct messages earlier, that this is the one area that I am not as familiar with, but it does come up in a lot of experiencer stories of where they got together with one or more friends and they tried a Ouija board and they asked for specific either people or beings. And it is really the thing that I wonder about is the experiences seem to vary. Even when it's the same name, you could buy like stories using the same name, and I'd be careful what you do. I'd choose maybe more, I don't know, fictional names if you want to go that way, because people will still do that. They'll use things from fiction, but they'll get different results. Some people will get nothing happening. Other people will get an amazing experience where they learn things. Other people will get a terrible experience. And so I really do think I think it's the intent and the vibrations, I think, are definitely part of it. They do help, and they even. But I think there's more factors to it than just that, because otherwise I feel like there'd be even more of this stuff going on than we hear about.
Yeah, and then so like what I'll get into. So I think we're at the point where kind of at the end here, but I want to go a little bit long because there's more to get into. We got a couple more calls to get to, and there's some more stuff I want to talk about as well regarding this. Like I said previously, so if we're talking about like all the spirits of the world forever, I mean, even in like all the esoteric lore or whatever you can pull out, like the amount of names we have for entities in that capacity is not even close to what you can imagine for like, unnamed nature spirits that have been around forever. Like I always, I say from time to time, primordial nature spirits, right? So if we don't have names for them, it seems like, right, if the name is power, then they are just doing their nature things uncontrollably. You know what I mean? I don't know. It seems interesting. It seems compelling to me anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think, you can find a name here or there for different nature entities, but you are right. I think there's probably a lot more out there that we don't know about than, or at least possibly there are a lot more out there than we know about. But on the same hand, I think that, and I've talked about this before, I don't know. I feel like, again, Hollywood, and going back to the movies and I mentioned this in their messages earlier, Hollywood definitely helps in putting out the idea that there are these demons, as they're always called in Hollywood, in a lot of cases, everywhere. But then if you look into reports from paranormal investigators, a lot of times they'll say, no, we don't really find that everywhere. It's not as common as what you would the popular culture and media would have you think.
Yeah, and that's the weird part too. Like we talked about revisionist history and sort of rewriting the old ways. It's interesting that like my reference, like I said, like the mortar and pestle and the garlic and all the stuff I was talking about. It's not from any like ancient grimoire. It's from a video game. You know what I mean? So it's like so how much did I get wrong? How much does that get sort of mistranslated through pop culture mediums, man? I don't know. Are we lost, James? How do we look? How's your faith?
Well, and the thing with video games and movies is I don't think that they always make everything up completely, but you just never know what part of what they're showing has been taken from some real kind of ritual or ceremony or spell or practice. That's the hard part. That's where you have to, if you can, and you can sometimes nowadays, easier than before maybe, look into the production of the actual movie, and maybe you'll be able to figure that out. But I would guess not always.
There you go. There you go. Hey, yeah, same. As always, right? Life is complicated, and things matter. The details matter. Shout out to Catalina over on the Fringe Discord. I see there. Catalina says the name is powerful when the individual claims it. There you go. There you go. You're the best, James. What else you got for us, my friend?
I do think it's funny that the whole Beetlejuice thing came up in a way, because I hadn't thought about that, but it sort of is fitting in a way because of, again, like Matt said, the way that, you know, he wants, in order for him to do anything, or at least anything on a larger scale, someone has to summon him out of that small world that he's stuck in, apparently, into the regular world.
Which, in Dungeons and Dragons terms, that would be a pocket dimension, my friend.
Okay, and that could very well be what it is. That could very well be. That could. I wonder how many of those are around, and that's where problem entities like Beetlejuice would be put in, and even watched over, because there are places in the movie where I forget her name now. The Juno, that's what it was. The caseworker says that I heard reports that, you know, you guys did that, you let the humans, you let Otho get hold of the handbook and this and that, and so you're like, well, wait, you heard reports. Where are these reports coming from? That implies that there are other spirits also in the house that you never see in the entire movie.
Exactly. But back to the idea of, we know the one name, but are there tens of thousands or even millions of others that are nameless, that are doing their thing constantly, and even been named and renamed into these, you know, like every pantheon from thousands of years ago, from the dawn of civilization to what we got now, man. It gets complicated, doesn't it?
It does, and it just makes you wonder, are there as many jobs for all of them as there are for people? You know,
so.
And are some of them actual? Then again, just, you know, that going back to that reference, it seems like they were informants, basically, that were going back and forth and reporting on what's going on in the house. So, yeah, it does seem like there are far fewer names than there are possibly different beings over time, especially over all these years.
Yeah, perfect. Good stuff. So we got more stuff to get to. Let's do this. We're just about running out of time, so hang tight, Jen. I see you there. Hang tight, Joe. We're gonna go long. We'll go into the third hour here and get your guys' calls, because again. You can never predict, right? Sometimes you get hot engagement on things you didn't think you would. So very, very good stuff. So hang tight. I see you, Jen. I see you, Joe. We're gonna get to you guys momentarily. What else you got? We got a minute or so left for you, James.
Yeah, I really am starting to think I may need to look more into this now. All of this side of things, the whole, even just in terms of history, the whole magic side of everything and ceremonial, because it does seem like names have been important going far back, almost as history records, and I just wonder where those first names came from.
And how long and ridiculous they are. That seems to be like, again, I think Rumpelstiltskin is a perfect example of that. It's a long, ridiculous name because you would never guess it. It wouldn't be like easily like, oh, Johnny, right? No chance. Without ever hearing it directly, no chance whatsoever. So interesting. Things get weird, don't they?
Yeah, it's not like Agent Smith. in the Matrix.
Nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, James here, a good friend of mine, good friend of the show. He's got a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. Check it out. Links in the description down below. Like I said, he does book reviews. He does paranormal news. He does paranormal stories, true ghost stories off the web. Check it out. Give him some love. Go follow all his social media and check out his live shows. He does them Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And there you go. I learned the new times. James, you're the best. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. I appreciate it very much.
No problem. I'm going to stick around and listen.
Right on. Stay right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this. So we're out of time. So the bad news is we're done on Fringe FM. The good news is, God willing, we got a third hour coming up because it seems like we got some hot engagement here. People are into this. I don't know. At the end of this, I think it's interesting. It's compelling. It's worth talking about. And that's why we talk about these things on Troubled Minds. So do remember, it doesn't matter what I think. These are just conversations. It only matters what you think. It's your reality. So as we finish, it goes exactly like this. If you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop and Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third-ish hour of Troubled Minds. And it goes like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. Okay, back off of the Fringe into the third hour. What do you guys think? Is there power in a name? Meaning magic powers in the name of an entity. And maybe we're not saying Michael, Marco, not like that. Maybe something else. Is there a abracadabra, Rumpelstiltskin type of magic going on here? Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. I see you there, Joe in Florida. Hang tight. Jennifer beat you. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. You are on Troubled Minds. Let me kill this music. Are you there? Oh, it killed itself. Timing is perfect.
Yes.
Jen, you're on Troubled
Yes, I'm
Minds.
here.
How are you tonight?
Okay. I'm very good. This was really, really good. This was a good topic.
Thank you. Thank you. So what do you know about it? Is there something to this? I guess that's the question.
Yep. So, okay, I think that the first thing, so we have the name, of the demon or the being, whatever type of spirit. You have that. But before we go into that, I think I wanted to just say that the power that words possess is really obvious, and it's kind of amazing. So not only do they allow an idea or emotion to be conveyed, but they themselves can create ideas, evoke emotions and actions, and they can create something, and they can destroy something. They can convey truths and reveal secrets, keep secrets. Words do all of these things. We communicate everything through them. They can tell a story. When you're reading a book, for example, create a whole world just in the imagination alone. But then in the real world, there's a very similar thing like that going on. So just words in general are kind of amazing. But going beyond that, let's think about language itself and numbers, which has been kind of touched on a little bit, but like the Pythagoreans and everything. They believed that they worshipped numbers, and they believed that the words themselves were like self-evident entities. Like you don't have to, they're self-evident, like you can look at 3 trees and kind of go 1, 2, 3. That's what they kind of explained with that, but it's a self-evident thing. And when they gave it a number, it gave it its identity in a way, but it was already kind of self-evident. And if you think about the logos, the idea of the word that was in the beginning, this sort of Terence McKenna stuff that he talks about, you have this instance where he was talking about ayahuasca, and that, like these shamans doing ayahuasca, there'd be like a type of substance, in essence, that was only visible like under ultraviolet light. And these shamans, under the influence of ayahuasca, they would spread this substance on the ground, and they could see through space and time with it. And they said, though, it would kind of flow out of all of the orifices, so to speak. So like even if they would open their mouths, it would come out and it would take shape through the sounds and the words and the things they would say. So, and he wondered, Terence McKenna, if this was actually the Logos, that the sound and the words itself was creating, if this was a substance or something like it, that was creating reality. Now, on another step with the name thing, it's really interesting if you think about people who go into Hollywood. They'll sometimes change their name. Their new star name or their stage name or whatever encompasses what they're going to be and not what they were. Like they have their original name, their real name of who they were before that. So that's an interesting note. I just want to hold that there. Take into account somebody, for example, there's this idea that if you've been cursed, if you've had a lot of bad luck and all this, you can change your name and then somehow evade that curse. Now, why would that be? Or, in the instance of somebody creating an alias to kind of hide their back history. If you know their real name, you know what they did before. In the instance of this, if you think about mathematics or computer programs, it can prove, you can see everything it can do, that what the system can do of mathematics or the computer program itself. You can see what it can do, but there's a fault in it, like a virus, for example, there's a fault in it somewhere. And if you know its name, it's like a code, like a combination and a lock. If you find its real name, you can go back and see what it's done before, and you can find its weaknesses and exploit them. Kind of like if you think about like two fighters, you know, like they'll watch each other, they'll study each other, and if they know the fighter's name, they can go back and see at the very beginning, before it learned everything it's learned, what it actually is and how to exploit its weaknesses. You can start to see that pattern. And with the case of a demon or a being, the same thing applies, like any type of spirit at all. If you find out, because it's probably given itself a name, or others have given it a name, based off its abilities and its past exploits.
Okay. So the name isn't simply just Michael Strange. It is Michael Strange of the Troubled Mind podcast of the this, of the that, of the other thing. It's like the Bilbo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom type stuff, where when you are in that sort of Tolkienville, meaning that again he was way tuned into a lot of things, but like. It's not just your name, it's also the exploits tied into this sort of very long string of characters, which, by the way, like you described perfectly, seems very passwordy, right? If you don't know exactly the thing, well, then you don't know the thing at all, do you?
Exactly. You know, and like in the case of a magician or a priest, when they have a demon, they want the real name. Sometimes even the fake names can help, but because then they can go back and see where this entity has been encountered before and unravel it. Because even though a demon or a spirit will keep secret all of its exploits as best it can, you know, killing this is so-and-so practitioner that helped them do this or that they helped do that, they can say that they can prove by helping you with their magic spells and everything. But in the past, there are weaknesses somewhere. And if you can find the real name of the being, you can go back and exploit those weaknesses and unravel its validity. Unravel the power and the validity of the demon itself by knowing its real name. Because its real self, what it was initially, is not what it became. Kind of like the idea, like you just mentioned, like people have fake names on the internet because if you knew their real name, you could destroy them. Like, you know, that's the idea. People use fake names on the internet because if you knew their real name, you could find where they live. You could find out who they know. You could go contact their family and cause trouble for them. You might even find out where they live. So you can find out a lot from the real name, and the same thing applies to these spirits. If you find out the real name of the spirit, you can go back and tear it. You can find out its weaknesses. So it's going to guard that very closely. It won't give it to you because if you have it, you can go back and see who they really are, what they actually are. And I think that's what the power of the name is and what's going on with it in a way, and why they don't give it out. And Rumpelstiltskin, if she knew his name, that she could undo the magic he was intending to put up on her. If she knew who he was, she could go back or talk to other people maybe in the village and be like, this is this being I've contacted and its name is this. They may be like, and it acts like this, you know. They may be able to tell her more, and she may be able to follow that trail and find out how to undo the magic that was put on her by Rumpelstiltskin. So it's like that. You get down to the essence of it, and you can unprove its validity. The same with computer viruses, a real person and their name and their aliases and things like that. You can get down to the base of the true self of it. The logos that it originally was is probably not what it's become through all of its magic and all of its, you know, stuff that it's got up to. So I think that that's kind of also at the basis of the power of the name of these beings. It's a combination lock thing, like the password into an account to kind of breaking up the whole being. And then they have no power. So if you say the name itself, it may perk up their attention. Maybe one of their fake names, like a Braxis or something like that. It may draw their attention, or Beelzebub or whatever. That's the name they've given themselves, or others have given it. But that's enough even to get its attention. Because if you know that much, what if you actually know its real name? So it may kind of play along with you for a while, just to make sure, or maybe even to help you, or to increase its power or whatever. But should you know its actual name, you could destroy it. Maybe not even destroy it, but just, you could unhinge it.
Yeah, that makes some sense. So the thing that locked into me when I first read that, the very first article that started this whole thread in my mind tonight, is I thought of Sauron. And so, again, big Lord of the Rings nerd myself, and they say many, many times in those, the Lord of the Rings novels that he is the one that should not be spoken of. He, like, people don't say his name, and the name Sauron itself isn't his actual name. It's a derogatory name. They call him as like the abhorred, or just the darkness. It's like they call him this sort of malignant, or what. There's so many ways to kind of interpret it, but it's because his real name, again, in those books, again, the Tolkien, like I said, locked into so much, it gives it power. And again, the Meyer spirit, again, he's equal with Gandalf, except, of course, corrupted and twisted and all the rest of that. But then, in those terms, that's what got me thinking, okay, wait, so why do you not say his name in particular? Because like you said, I think that gets to the heart of this, that if you know his real name and you speak it, you do get his attention. Very much like the Eye of Sauron. It's always watching, it's always thinking, it's always looking, because it wants to find you who wants to find it. Interesting.
Yeah. And if you do find, okay, so say if it is concerned that you should speak its real name and people don't say its real name, is if they know it, or even just Sauron itself would get its attention, of course, but its attention is on you because if you know that much, or you're even speaking about me, you may try to take some of my power away. I may need to end you just like right now, that kind of thing. Like if somebody was like, oh, I know, so-and-so's real name. And they hear that, they're like, whoa, wait, that was kind of close. So they might play along, be like, that's actually not my real name, but, where did you, I don't know. There seems to be, like, if you were to get to it, and if you were to find out his real name, it may, if you look back then, you may see that he's not as powerful as he's presenting himself to be, or you could find the weaknesses of whatever he is. And the weird thing about the name of God thing, because obviously it's not really, I don't know if it'd be even possible to know the real name, because, so I don't know if that's just what people call it or what. Not to get into that, but yeah, it's all tied together. And it's a really big subject, and I don't really have much to add to it. I mean, you can continue to kind of just like spin around in the same circle, but I do think it has something to do with, if you know the real power of the name of Sauron, for example, you could destroy Sauron. And so, if you even know the name Sauron, he would, like you said, what you said was really good. Yeah, it's so complicated because it's hard to explain it in a way, but I hope it did make a little bit of sense about what I was kind of thinking about it.
Perfect sense. So the translation for Sauron actually means abhorred or the abomination. So that's what the rest of the world calls him, because his real name, Atumno, and some of these other things like back to the Maiar spirit, second in command of Melkor. Again, I'm a super nerd, but there's power in that name. But I think that's the point. It gets his attention. If you speak his true name, he's like, what are you up to? Maybe it's ritual magic to wield against him, and so he has to notice, right? He has to notice. Yeah. Wild stuff. Fantastic as always, Jennifer. What else you got for us tonight?
Nope, that's just it. Guard your name, guard your, and I guess other people too. Like if you're contacting a spirit, the name that they have for it, a lot of times it's not its true name, but like you'd have to research any demon or any kind of spirit you're ever going to get in contact with way back, all the way back as far as you could, and take into account every aspect of it, not just the ones you want to see, I think would be important.
Yeah, that tracks. I love it. Fantastic as always. Jennifer here, a good friend of mine, good friend of the show's. She's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Is that coming back live anytime soon, my friend? You said it's coming?
Yeah, it might be. Well, every day I'm thinking about it, and I do like research every day that I'm thinking that would be a really good video, or I'm going to do this, and I'll put it together even in my computer, but I won't actually shoot it because I'm just like, I don't know, because I do want to do it live or something sometime, and I think that'd be really cool. I just got to get things like...
No pressure.
Just need to
I'm just asking. I'm asking for an update. No pressure. I'm not twisting your arm. Just looking forward.
No, it's because I'm really excited about it too. I like to do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Anyway, gonna do it.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you, Jennifer. Jen, link in the description. Follow Jen. She's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Great stuff as always. We're doing the thing. We're going to finish this up. We went a little bit long because we had calls. Let's go to, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody who popped in here and gave us amazing takes. Let's go to Joe in Florida, being very patient. Thanks for allowing ladies first. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. What do you know about naming the entity? We talked about Sauron a little bit. We talked about Jesus and the swine and throwing out the demons. And they wouldn't tell even Jesus himself. They wouldn't tell him that their name was this. They said, we are legion, for we are many, playing coy with Jesus himself. So there's a lot to this. It's super weird. What's up, Joe? How are you tonight, my man?
Not too bad, but if we keep saying Marco Polo, the world is truly going to go blind, because we definitely are running blind right now.
That's for sure. 100%, my man. 100.
But I had a couple of simple thoughts, but Jen kind of opened my mind up for a couple of things when she started saying changing names, and you just kind of burst the bubble, but it depends on the story. Lucifer, the Old Testament, comes down. We could debate what he was down here for, or gets cast out of heaven. Going to a Catholic college myself and having a nun, well, she was a nun. She became an English teacher. And I forget what it was we were reading, and she's like, basically, Lucifer is, why should we rule in hell than rather be in heaven? But he tries to turn things upside down. And then I start to think that maybe over time, I see Jesus separated from the Old Testament as having a lot of the qualities that maybe Lucifer kind of had. Maybe a name change or not a name change, but Jesus, in the way I remember it being told to me in school and thinking about it, he turned the world upside down. He made it okay to be poor. He made it okay to be cast out. He threw people out of the temple. We all know that story. Okay? He hung around with the pretty kind of, motley crew of characters, if any of it all existed. The apostles, I'm sure, did. But it was totally different than the God that we saw in the Old Testament. And who knows if the God that was in the Old Testament just changed his name or did put Jesus there. I look at those two things as, you got the Old Testament Bible as a God of wrath and a God of laws. And then I look at Jesus as, a different take on it. You could be forgiven. You could be this, you could be that. We didn't see a lot of forgiveness in the Old Testament. But when Jennifer mentioned changing names, to maybe hide your past, it makes perfect sense. I mean, my last name's Gambino. I'll say it right out there. How many people do I know are in witness protection? I don't really know. But some people go into witness protection so that all their shit's not seen. So, yeah, Jen, that was good because it maybe start to click a little bit on that. But on the other end of it, I look at blind faith. So the word blind faith, to me, what does that mean? We could say that General Patton is the only example right now. There's other examples, but Patton prayed for good weather on one of the battles, and he got good weather. Was that luck? Was that God? We don't know. Was that people calling out? But in modern days, we've mentioned cults and things. In modern days, right now, what's going on is you're starting to see degradation of separation of church and state. That these religious people pray so much that God appeared to them. Do we believe that? Or is there a God gene? We talk about the God gene, whatever God that is, that gets flipped on. Maybe the rest of us here at the show are blessed to maybe not have that gene, or not to be, as the saying might say, ignorance is bliss. If that makes any sense. But there's something. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Another example is Keck. I don't know if anybody put them in the show because I was at a concert and got in late tonight. But we've talked about this with our last president and Keck and all of that magic and focal points and all of those things. Now, were there temples to Keck in modern times? I don't know.
Yeah. But, Hey, so the new temple, now we talk about this often, not the new temple in particular, it just came to me, but the new religion is science. The new religion is this digital domain, whatever the hell it is. So that would mean the new temple is like Reddit. The new temple is like Twitter. Those are the new temples, right? Exactly. They're just, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, we've talked about it here. I mean, it's a good conversation because it's a reminder that a lot of these subjects that you're covering and, we're trying to add to, honestly, you could tie them into what's going on right now. I mean, it's like you just mentioned, it's what's going on right now. Again, people out there listening, the first season of American Gods covers it. I mean, if you read the book, it's different, but if you want to get a quick overview, the first season of American Gods, it's literally a battle between the old gods and the new gods, and the new gods are all social media. So, I don't know. Is there a technology god that none of us know the name? I mean, we talk about Cthulhu enough, Derek talks about Cthulhu enough that I wish Cthulhu would show up. Derek should have enough of that power on his own, but I still don't see Cthulhu.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if, maybe there is an electronic god.
There is.
I don't know. And
there is.
Somebody's getting these ideas.
I think we need to do one of those coming up because there's a demon star known as Algol. AGOL. Algol. Wait, is that right? No, ALGO. Algo. Just like it sounds, just like algorithm, right? And so the thing is that it's based on all of that, and it is sort of that. I guess if we're talking like nature spirits and like abundance of millions and millions of them type of thing, I guess it would be like the patron saint of technology of like you're describing this new temple, this new church. But interestingly, it's also known. It's called Algol, but it's also known as the demon star. Like what the fuck? And here we are, my man.
Well, you're making me click here because I'm thinking it's math. I mean, we could make an argument if I had to boil things down to what we're looking at now. Forget about spirit gods. But we have one god, which we know is money. Okay? That's the best proof I think I would have. You could pray to anything you want. Maybe it's lucky. But the fact that we all have to believe in a currency is belief right there. It gives that currency value. It gives that currency legs. We would have nothing without currency. And then the other thing that floats around is math, algorithms. So it's a good point. I mean, I'm kind of losing my thought right now because it's just coming to me, but maybe like Aleister Crowley opened up they say he opened up a gate, maybe CERN, maybe these ideas, are coming in, and they're coming in to definitely exert more control over humanity. We know that all of these apps, being able to talk to your Alexa and do this and do that, we know that all of that convenience comes with a price. And if there is something out there that wants to enslave us, if that's true, or maybe we're just willingly enslaving ourselves for whatever reason, and we're just looking to blame somebody else, because I've always looked at gods as we can't take responsibility for our own shitty selves, so we've got to pawn it off on somebody else and just say, I was made like that, God made me like that, I can be forgiven. What the heck was I watching? It was today. It was literally today. I had a funeral today. They had a Christian minister, and he basically said, if I went into a room and I told people if they didn't sin, then what good was anything? So the way I read it was he was telling people to sin so that they could be forgiven. So, what does that lead you to? What is that madness? Do we even know? Blind faith. Just a whole lot of things. So, and, I'm a recovering Catholic. I still bring those values with me. I still try to do good. I don't look at the Old Testament. I just tell my kids, look, Jesus was pretty laid back, we think. If you can at least believe in that idea of the golden rule, it should hopefully get you through life. But we're seeing quite the opposite. So whatever a lot of these people are worshiping is not good. And we're giving away our freedom. We definitely are to the new gods.
Exactly. So just real quick, so Algol, Algol, is known as the demon star, and it's in the Perseus constellation. It's up on the thing. I dropped the link in the chat. If you guys want to check that out and fact check me. I already fact checked myself. It was just sort of one of those, those things that as we talk about these things just kind of pop into my mind, like Rumpelstiltskin. I had no idea we were going to talk about Rumpelstiltskin tonight, and I had to be a memory from 30 years ago or something. Just like shit. Here we are. I don't know, man. This is, like I said, I think interestingly, I think even the adherents of the new religion understand it's a new religion. You know what I mean? I don't think they want to admit it openly, because when you say religion, it means blind faith, right? It means sort of that, believe without, I don't want to say substance, because that's not fair. Without what?
Without question. Believe without question.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not allowed to question. And look, anything I believe in, I think we should be allowed to question personally. And if you can't, then that's when I'm like, let's try something else now, right? Yeah.
Why would God need a starship? I forget which Star Trek that was, but it was probably one of the worst Star Trek movies where they supposedly go find God, and it's, why would God need a starship? And then there was the Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's the God planet. Well, you can do anything you want, but that exacted a toll. The thing is I guess it's chicken. If it makes sense for me, I'm kind of stuck with, was it the chicken before the egg? Did we make gods? It's always an age-old question. Did we make God, or did God make us?
It's a hell of a question. It's a hell of a question.
Back to that. Well, yeah, and then who named the demons? Who named this? Who named that? I definitely pray to my dad. I do think that there's some power in some saints and people. That there's evocation of that. It's weird, and maybe that crosses the line of of magic and spirituality, or if we're just here. I'd like to believe that there is a little bit of spirituality pushing us around. Now whether that's the ghost that's in the Matrix, we'll never know. We'll never know. So, but anyway, my brain is fried. I gotta get up for work. It's a great topic and good calls. So we just gotta believe. If we gotta believe in ourselves that we have good hearts. We gotta believe in our friends and our neighbors. And if there's something else that's noticing that, then I shouldn't have to prove it to them. But God should notice that. Just like when I die, I certainly hope that wherever I go, that maybe I'll see the families that I've helped before me. And
Amen.
somebody will say, good job. That maybe I will see Anubis, or somebody will be there and said, you didn't hose people out of their money. You actually tried to help, and you did a good job, and you get a pass. I shouldn't have to prove myself. I should prove it to the fellow people that are around me. And God should notice that. If I have to get fealty to something else, then I'll go to whatever hell they're going to send me to, if that makes sense.
Amen. Makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me. And let's not be lost on the fact that you are not obligated to be the same asshole you were 5 minutes ago. We can get better every day. We just have to will it. You're the best, Joe. Appreciate the call. Sleep well. Always a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with us, bro.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too, my man. There you go. Hey, real quick, I'm going to add this to the dip. I went super crazy on a little bit of Tolkien tonight because the name Sauron sort of struck a chord with me. Struck a chord like you're in the Upside Down with like a guitar just smashing a chord. Anyway, I digress. So interestingly, in the Tolkien, you guys may not know this. Check this out. So not only did Tolkien have a ton of names, there were these ancient nature spirits. They weren't really nature spirits. They were dark. They were twisted. They were corrupted. Look at this. This is from Lord of the Rings. This is from the online game, but it's based on the actual work of J.R.R. Tolkien. They had these things called the Nameless. All right? And the term nameless encompasses many ancient and terrible creatures found in the remote places of Middle-earth. Some are known to be spirits who served Morgoth, which was the original dark god. Sauron is the second in charge to Morgoth. Morgoth was banished. Sauron took over, and etc. So on. It's too deep and too dark to get into here. Into that. There you go. So some are known to be spirits who served Morgoth in the first age and escaped his downfall. However, nameless usually refers specifically to the creatures of unknown origin, native to the deepest, darkest regions of the world, particularly the lowest depths of Moria. If you guys remember Moria, the mines of Moria, Gandalf, and the Balrog. The Balrog, a demon from ancient times, etc. So on. Here's a quote from Gandalf. Far, far below the deepest delving of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. If they are truly older than Sauron, this continues, beings of such evil nature are likely the result of the corruptions Morgoth, the big bad OG himself, wrought on the world when it was young. Some of these vaguely resemble the peoples of the surface of the world, only with hideous alterations. Others are more beast-like or unlike anything else in appearance. Certain other rare beings of ancient power that do not fit into any other category, such as fallen wizards, are classified as nameless. Now, interestingly, right, we're talking about names tonight. So these creatures, long forgotten, literally have hidden their names in history, in the depths of billions of years of history. You think that's an accident? And that's where we're at. That's how we end this. It rolls like that. Let me make sure we don't have anybody else in here. Anything else to add? We got. Let's go back to Matt in Colorado. Be quick, my friend. What else you got to add? You there? Test 1 2.
Yeah, I'm here. I just got this spooky feeling and chills up my spine when you were talking about the nameless.
All right. What do you got?
Yeah, that's chilly, man. Well, I just, man, that going back billions of years, the nameless ones. Yeah, it just makes me think like, that's probably a deal, and I don't want to know what's there. But yeah, and we were talking about naming them or not naming them. Does that summon them? Can it banish them? And I think James brought up a really good point that a lot of times, things happen on the paranormal world, and it's not like people are naming them or calling them or summoning them. So, I think they can appear whether you know their name or not. And in that case, maybe, knowing their name or getting their name's a good way to to banish them or control them. But like you said, even Jesus, the Legion's just like, we're not going to tell you. And I do think, like I said, names have a vibration to them. If you work out, like people do numerology on birthdays, you can do it on a name too. And, so there's a difference in the vibration between Mike and Michael or Matt or Matthew. And that's also why sometimes people do a spiritual thing and they get given a new spiritual name, or the Native Americans when they went through their rite of passage, because it would, have a different vibration. But I think in general, like you were just talking, entertain any idea, but believe in nothing, Terence McKenna. And, the danger of believing is you're committing a certain amount of faith, a certain amount of certitude to something. So that's always a dangerous ground. So, entertain, not necessarily commit yourself unless you're damn sure straight it's true and real.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing too. So you got to understand and realize, like, when we're dealing with, again, think about the nameless, and we're talking about entities of billions of years old, right? Or even, like, you can go back to the beginning, however you want to trace the beginning of things. And so we're talking about trickster spirits, possibly, right? I'm not saying they all are. I'm saying that, like, as a result, humans can be deceptive, humans can be devious, humans can be false. And so as a result, obviously and clearly, if we're talking about entities from the other side of the veil, they clearly can be as well. So just be careful, guys. Be careful. Look, and this is the thing. I'm not trying to back anybody off your faith or your conviction. I'm just saying, like, be understanding and accepting of people that may not be locked into that same faith, because it is a dangerous place. If you're so locked in, you miss the forest for the trees, and the forest is all the rest of us that may not be in that tribe, but also may want to love just as much as you do, just maybe not in the same way. Matt, great shit. What else you got, my friend?
Well, you just brought up the tricksters, and earlier you were talking about the skinwalkers, and I don't know if you know this, but the Native American interpretation and meaning of the coyote is the trickster. Okay, so that's probably why they call the skinwalkers that. And it's like you were talking about the Ouija boards, and it might say it's your grandma, but could be some tricksters out there. And yeah, there you go. I think that's about all I got, man.
Amen. 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 Go ahead. Say it.
No, I just said you're the best.
No, you're the best. You're the best. No, you. Oh. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Let's go to Daryl in New York. You're on Troubled Minds if you're still there. You got anything to add? Then we'll go to James and we'll finish this MFer up.
I think I'm going to just name my demons, like, after the three little piggies. Like, this little piggy went to market, and this little piggy went to seven dwarfs. Give them a name that's very unimportant, and I think you can solve that problem.
This little piggy went down to the casino and won $10 million.
Whatever. Slow, sleepy, and dopey, and sneezy. You name them after the seven dwarfs. I mean, then what harm can they do?
Yeah. Hey, why not? Hey, because if Disney's given us demons in these movies named as Sleepy and Dopey and Happy, we got serious problems. Serious problems. I'm with you. I like your strategy.
Yeah, they'll be much less intimidating.
Amen.
I don't think they'll do that much harm. Maybe they could give you a headache, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. Don't forget, Daryl. The last little piggy cried, "Wee, wee, wee," all the way home.
That's right. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
hey, I'm talking to you.
I mean, they were all Grimm's fairy tales. Rumpelstiltskin, wasn't that? Rumpelstiltskin. Wasn't that a fairy tale?
Yeah, Grimm's. Yeah, he was Grimm's. So that story actually goes back. I did just a Wikipedia real quick scan. Goes back further, and they adapted it for the Grimm's fairy tales. But it's an old folk tale. Yeah, for sure.
I remember Rumpelstiltskin. I didn't think he was that harmful either.
Hey, so what he wanted to cast a spell on her and take her children. So that was the point. So
that was the original.
Yes, yep. So she would marry the prince. They would have babies, but then he would, because he did the spinning the straw in the gold 3 times. 3 times was the number. He would be able to cast that spell and come take her children for whatever nefarious purposes he had.
I see. I think they mellowed him out by the time we were reading about Rumpelstiltskin. I don't think he was that bad.
I think
thought
the
he was
thing
just
is,
a lonely dwarf or something like that.
I think that's what they wanted us to believe, but it goes dark. Look, I think the craziest part about all of it, and why it sort of clicked in my brain as we were talking about it, is, like I said, I hadn't considered it before we started, but it kind of came in as we were talking about it. I was like, wait, Rumpelstiltskin, right? But he was like a demonic imp. And he wanted to entrance and cast a spell and get the ritual magic necessary to take her babies forever. Right? That's dark. That's dark as fuck. Like, what's he going to do with those babies, right? Like, what's going on now? It's sick.
Wow. My illusions of my childhood are changing every second. You know?
All right. I'm going to dig into some more Grimm's fairy tales. We'll shatter the fuck out of your childhood, okay, Daryl? You ready for that?
Well, they were pretty grim. When you think about it, you know?
Exactly.
A lot of the stuff we played with, Ring Around the Rosie. I mean, all of that stuff had such dark connotations that we never really realized, until we got older and looked into it, like the bubonic plague. That, I don't know, all our fairy tales and our rhymes and nursery rhymes, they all had dark and Disney, God,
Don't get me started on Disney.
Dark.
Don't get me started on Disney.
No. But it's so much darker than we ever imagined.
Exactly.
Just to show you the innocence of children. But anyway, great show, great topic. I really enjoyed tonight. I enjoyed everybody's phone calls. Good stuff.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for contributing. Always amazing stuff. Appreciate it, Daryl. Let's go to James. Let's finish it up with James. What's up, bro? Anything to add before we trim this MFer out?
Yeah, first of all, the fairy tales, that is, I've heard that they are, the further back you go, the darker they can be. So just putting that out there. But and I think there was something else earlier, but I think I've forgotten since then. So, but yeah, no, great topic.
Let me add real quick before we get to the rest. So another dark one, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Check it out, guys. Check it out. Go back and look. So first he ran the rats out with his beautiful music, right? They were being overrun. The rats were going to run them into famine. They were eating all the things. He came, he played the flute. He ran the rats into the river, right? Demanded his payment. Went back to town. They're like, they gypped him. They're like, nah, we ain't going to do it. We don't have that money to pay you. You know what he did? He played his flute and he charmed all the children and he took them away from the village, never to return. Notice the craziness of stealing the children in these fairy tales. Holy fuck. Yeah.
And you know what's funny? There's going back to how these ideas can kind of repeat in fiction, and there was a part, I just recently did a book review for one of Stephen King's books, and there's a part where one of these characters in this book, who is actually a robot, is in this village, and he is secretly working with the evil side, the bad side, to have them capture some of the kids in this village. But during the day, or while he's there, the kids love him. And there was even one scene where he could play music from his, because he had speakers and all that kind of stuff. And there was a line of kids following him around, and singing with the music and everything. And again, just that little nod to that. King put that in there, and all the characters, in the story noticed it too. So yeah, really, that definitely some dark stuff there.
That shit is all real. And before we go to the James intro, James has got a outro for us. I want to read this real quick. So, back to Rumpelstiltskin to round all this out. Rumpelstiltskin right, was weaving straw into gold for our princess. Just before the third day, she snuck out on the second night to go track down Rumpelstiltskin. She comes across his cottage in the woods, and he's singing this. Tonight, tonight, my plans I make. Tomorrow, tomorrow, the baby I take. The queen will never win the game, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name. How chilling is that?
Yeah, it is.
Music's rolling, waiting for the bass. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, androids, robots, reptilians, sectoids from all corners of the multiverse, I present to you my good friend, James Salcedo of Salcedo Paranormal.
Live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual. And that's from Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Amen. Amen. Fantastic one. Fantastic one. All right. This is the deal, right? We do this 4 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. And looking to hear from you. Looking to hear your thoughts on show topics in the future. APOC, what that said, that'd be a good show, Mike. The Grimm's Fairy Tales, like revisited to a conspiracy theory mind. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stealing children, isn't there? There's a lot of stealing children in that shit. Weird little Epstein undertones of the Grimm's Fairy Tales. In any case, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. This is the way it goes, right? If you want to help the show, there are a number of ways to do it. Please don't forget to follow all those fine folks that contribute to the show. Their links are in the description down below. Please go give them a follow. They do fantastic work. They make this show go round, like I always say. This show is greater than the sum of its parts because we all get together and you see what happens. Like, this is fucking magic. It's real magic. It's good magic. It's magic about getting together, thinking together, being good to each other together. It's magic. Please follow all the folks, do all the things, the Twitters and everything. Links in the description down below. If you want to help the show, if you want to help Troubled Minds, there's a number of ways. First and foremost, always just share. Just tell people about it. Hey, come listen. Like, shit's crazy. Some nights it's about demons and Rumpelstiltskin, and some nights it's about aliens, and some nights it's about all kinds of shit you never could imagine. Hey, it's a good thing. I like to surprise myself, and I hope I surprise you too. Look, and this is the thing. Do you want to help the show in another way? There's a number of ways. Number 1, sub up on Rockfin. Number 2, sub up on Patreon. Number 3, Twitch, but they take half because they're dicks. Number 4, troubledfans.com. There's hats, there's shirts, there's all kinds of shit. Go buy the shit if you want to help. Look, and you get something out of it, right? There you go. And if you don't want to spend money or don't have money to spend, I completely get it. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Listen to the podcast feed, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. It's completely free. Over 440 episodes up there now. It's crazy. We've been at it for 4.5 years almost, like going on 4.5 years. It's fucking insane. If you just found us and you're like, where the fuck did these guys come from? Time and pressure, a lot of fucking hard work. That's where we came from. And not only that, building this amazing community of all these amazing people that I mentioned. Please follow all them. Links in the description down below. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.